Thanks again for joining our Foresight Talk webinar, Innovating Global Social Enterprise Through Foresight with Ivan Zoukasty. We're very excited to have him. Just really quick, gonna go through some logistics, introduce yourself in the chat, tell us where you're joining from, and then make sure you selected everyone. And if you have any questions at any time, enter them into the Q&A, preferably so that people can upvote your questions or into chat. And the agenda, we'll have a quick welcome, and then we'll start the conversation with Ivan Zoukasty, who's the Managing Partner Director of Prospecticor, a European Foresight and Strategy Institute. And then we'll open it up to audience Q&A. For those who don't know, IFTF, Institute for the Future, is an independent, nonprofit, public interest organization founded in 1968. So my math is correct. I believe we're 55 years old. Someone correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. We're based in Palo Alto, and our mission is to help organizations and leaders become future ready. So we do that through our research, we do that through our trainings, and different events that turn foresight into the critical new insights that ultimately lead to transformative action. We have many trainings that I wanted to just let you soak this in. We have a lot of individual trainings, some live, some on Coursera that you can take at your own pace. We also have trainings for teams. I'm going to go through some of the dates that these are the upcoming trainings that we have coming up. We have one this Thursday, Fast Future. Just is a great training for anyone that wants to get like a quick intro to foresight, futures thinking. It's live with Jane McGonigal, 90 minutes. It's really fun. So if you want to invite a friend, or just if you are thinking about foresight, maybe learning about it, you can join that this Thursday. And then we have a whole lineup of our new class, 3 Horizons of AI. We keep opening up new ones because they're really popular, but we even have one that's for Asia Pacific times, and 3 sessions live online. If you're really interested in learning more about AI, recommend it. And of course, our flagship Foresight Essentials training. We have these dates coming up. We have one in person in Palo Alto in December. We have another one in person in New Zealand in February. Wish I could go. And then we also have scenario building coming up and design futures. So if you're interested, please look at our website, iftf.org. And then we have these resources that are all available to anyone, the public. We have these webinars, we have newsletters, multiple newsletters that you can subscribe to. We have meetups for our alumni, and we have Medium posts, and of course, Urgent Optimists, which does have a small fee. It's $10 a month or $99 for a full year, and it's an amazing community of people who want to be hopeful, want to, and it also has the scenario clubs, live events with Jane McGonigal, signal scavenger hunts. It's really fun. And finally, we have Vantage, which if you want to bring foresight into your organization and have foresight be really integrated and be part of all of the decisions you make, the strategy, and really have it transform how you work, please think of joining Vantage. There's lots of benefits that come with that. All right, so let's get to our conversation with Ivan Zoukasty. I'm going to welcome Rebecca, our host, IFTF Research Director, who will start the conversation with Ivan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca Shamash, and I'm so excited to introduce Ivan Zoukasty to you all. We met Ivan in the context of our Equitable Enterprise Initiative, and we were so excited about the work that he was doing. And so we're really thrilled to be able to have another conversation with him and to introduce him to all of you. Iban is managing partner and director at Prospecticur, which is a foresight and strategy institute and a member of the Mondragon Corporation, which is the largest cooperative network in the world. At Prospecticur, he uses foresight to champion social enterprises with governments and businesses. And in addition, he's chairman of the Millennium Project in Spain, a global participatory futures think tank with 73 nodes around the world. He also works on a number of other important projects with governmental agencies, business, and civil society, some of which he'll share with us today. So with that, Iban, I'd love to pass it to you and ask you to share a little bit more about your work at Prospecticur and the Millennium Project.
So, Rebecca, thank you very much for this introduction, and thank you to the Institute for the Future for this invitation. It's a real pleasure to be here talking about the future scenarios and also connecting that to social enterprise and the important role we believe the social enterprise and social economy has in the future challenges. So it's a real pleasure, and I hope this conversation gives some food for thoughts.
I'm sure it will. And actually, before you go into your work, I'm wondering if you can define social enterprise for us, because I think the definition you use in Europe is a little bit more broad than the one we use in the United States.
Yeah, in Europe, we have a quite broad definition of social enterprise that includes many what we call families of different businesses that could be both for-profit or non-for-profit. So we are not talking only about non-for-profit organizations, but also for-profit organizations. But they are all organizations that have a social purpose also. So either because they are putting together a large social group or a community that have a social aim, a concrete social aim, or either because they are putting together a group of people who want to do purchasing in a different way, or because they are helping people solve their housing needs. They are all what we call social enterprises. And in general, we are talking about cooperatives, we are talking about mutual enterprises, we are talking also about foundations, private and public foundations. So it's a broad spectrum. And in the case of some countries like Spain, we are talking about a share of around 10% of GDP coming from social enterprise.
Great, thank you. So could you give us a little introduction to your work at Prospecticur, and you can mention them, and you can go into the Millennium Project as well if you'd like.
Sure. Prospecticur is a futures research institute that was created in 1987. So it was very much coming from the French tradition of foresight institutes like Futurible. Also, we learned a lot with our French colleagues like Hugues de Jouvenel or Michel Godet, also from the CENAM, from the academia. And the idea was to create an institute that was helping so local, regional, and national governments, but also the corporate sector, business organizations, on designing their long-term strategies. It was a time in the late 80s when in Spain, you know, the Franco's dictatorship was ended at the late 70s, and the beginning of the 80s were the time of the first years of the real democracy. So many governments, regional and local governments, they needed a lot of support on designing their longer term strategies. So we are almost becoming an old player in the world arena of foresight institutes. And that was a big time when in 2010 we became part of the Millennium Project, coordinating the Millennium Project node in Spain. We are also very active in other European and Latin American foresight networks, and also working together with other international foresight and futures research networks. But the big change was in 2010 when we became part of the Millennium Project family.
And I know that as you're in your work with the Millennium Project, you're working on developing scenarios. Can you tell us about the scenarios that you're developing?
Sure. The Millennium Project, for those that don't know, was somehow a think tank that was created in the late 90s. It was kind of a spin-off of the university, of the UN University, to create an independent thinking on future scenarios. So our purpose today is to somehow help decision makers, both at the government side and the private sector, to make better decisions, integrating future challenges and opportunities. And the Millennium Project has been there developing future research work on different topics and issues, all related to global challenges. We define 15 global challenges related to demographics, to science and technology, to sustainable development, to gender equality, to peace in the world also. So in the last 5 to 10 years, we've been working a lot on the impacts of technological development, and especially technological disruptions on the labor market. And some years ago, we started concrete research on what we call the future of work and technology scenarios to 2050. So the beginning of this research was what we call the inevitability of new economics and the changing social contract. So the starting point is that we saw that concentration of wealth was increasing. At the same time, income gaps were or are widening globally. Which is somehow also a bit a new story for economists like myself, because in the past we thought that when poverty was going down, inequalities were also going to be reduced, and actually what we are saying, what we are seeing in the last decades is that this is not actually happening. We are seeing that even if poverty is going down globally, inequalities are still growing. So we were seeing also that the return on investment in capital and technology was usually better, and it's still usually better than labor. And future technologies could replace much of human labor. So there was a long-term structural unemployment, could be a business as usual or surprise-free trend forecast. And the beginning of this research work was, what can we do about it? So this was the beginning of this scenario work that we designed. So we developed 3 scenarios with the time horizon of 2050. So the first scenario was called It's Complicated, a Mixed Bag. So in this first scenario, what it's the business as usual trend projection. What we could see in this scenario is that there was an increase in acceleration of change with both intelligence and stupidity. That means that some countries and some decision makers, they were doing right decisions, while others were not understanding this disruption and change, and they were not being anticipatory. There was an irregular adoption of advanced technology, a major employment growth in biotech industries. So some industries and businesses were doing right. There was in general high unemployment where governments did not create long-range strategies. And there was a mixed success on the use of universal basic income. Giant corporations grow beyond government control in this government corporate virtual 3D and multipolar world of 2050 was somehow the norm. So that was a scenario 1 on the future of work and technology. Then we had the second scenario that sorry to say, but was worse than the business as usual scenario. So this is somehow the negative scenario. We call that the scenario political economic turmoil, future despair. So in this scenario, there is political gridlock, increases social polarization, and prevents decision-making. Political, economic, environmental migrations increase ethnic conflict. So we see that growing migrations like we are seeing already today, but very much related to the lack of opportunities related to employment due to these technological disruptions. Governments did not anticipate impacts of artificial general intelligence, hence no strategies to address increasing mass unemployment. Unemployment exploded in the 2030s, leads to 2050 in political turmoil. Financial systems cannot support aging societies, and there are lots of financial crises. And the world order has deteriorated into a combination of nation states, mega corporations, local militias, terrorist groups, and organized crime. So this is a very, very bad scenario. But the good news is that we have a third scenario, and this is the hope and for humanity. We call that if humans were free, the self-actualization economy. So in this third scenario, the governments did anticipate the impacts of artificial general intelligence, conducted extensive research on how to phase in universal basic income systems. Increasing intelligence becomes a goal of education, which we know is the key element of this global transformation. Education is the key. Self-employment promoted, and artists, media moguls, and entertainers helped to foster cultural change from an employment culture to a self-actualization economy. So there is a global social transformation in the system related to this third positive scenario.
And how have the scenarios been received? How are they being used?
So the idea is that these scenarios were the base for the governments and the decision makers to create their own strategies. We know that usually foresight and long-term scenarios are a tool to open the eyes of decision makers to see what could happen if they do nothing and what could happen if they anticipate the right strategies towards the desired scenarios. So we saw that many governments through the Millennium Project notes, they were already researching their own situation in the different countries and analyzing what were the big challenges, taking these global scenarios to their own work. We did that also in Spain, working with Telefónica Foundation on bringing the global scenarios to the situation in Spain, where we have some different challenges also. One of them is, for instance, aging society. As you know, Southern Europe is one of the areas in the world where aging is more advanced in the last decades. So we saw many actions and strategies that were implemented. Some examples could be, for instance, the idea to make increasing intelligence an objective of education. For instance, also in parallel to STEM education, create a hybrid system of self-paced, inquiry-based learning for self-actualization, creativity, critical thinking, and human relation using new AI tools. Create international standards for narrow and general AI with a governance system to enforce them. So this is something that we are discussing now, and this is our current project in the Millennium Project related to the continuation of this research, especially very much focusing on the transition from a narrow AI into general AI.
It's very exciting. Before we move on, would you mind restating the names of the three scenarios? We had a request to do so.
Sure. So the first scenario was called It's Complicated, the Mixed Bag. By the way, you have all this information at the Millennium Project website. So I invite everyone to visit the website, and you can even download the report, the WorkTech 2050 scenario report. The second scenario was called Political Economic Turmoil, Future Despair. And the third scenario, the positive scenario, was called "If Humans Were Free, the Self-Actualization Economy."
Thank you. So you mentioned that you're starting to think about AI in particular, kind of as it moves from narrow artificial intelligence to general artificial intelligence. Can you talk about how your futures work is helping you to make sense of that? And also how you're thinking about AI in the context of the inequalities that you address in your other work?
Yes, AI, as we know, it's relevant for this debate because the beginning of the story is that technological disruption is somehow very positive. We are pro-technology, but at the same time, we think that there is a need to anticipate the strategies to understand how different technologies could evolve and how we can take the best of those technologies. And out of those big technologies like robotics, 3D printing, nanotechnologies, and so on, AI is the big game changer. We know AI will impact all our human activities, from business to politics to social interactions. And there is a big change on AI. We need to talk about the transition because many times with AI, we make the mistake of thinking that everything is the same AI, and that's not true. What we know today and what we understand today for AI is what we call the narrow AI. So basically, it's us, the human beings, telling robots and technology what they have to do. So in the future, the experts say that we could move into a next level of AI. The next future step would be artificial general intelligence, or AGI. So this general intelligence as a whole, we can say that could have the capacities and the skills and the power to do things like we humans do. And this is really a game changer because we don't still understand how much this could be a new scenario for humans. After that, the experts say that even in a longer future, we could reach a next stage where we could talk about what it's called artificial superintelligence. And to be honest, even the experts, they say that they don't know how this superintelligence could be. They only know that this superintelligence could mean that it's even higher or goes beyond what a human being can do. So it's beyond the human. But the point is that we are in that transition, and if we want to get the best of that transition, we need to anticipate what could be those scenarios of the development of AI. So our approach is, everyone is talking about regulating AI, and we remember that some experts, they were even talking about maybe stopping AI for 6 months or so. We think that's really nothing, because this is such a huge transition that what we need is to understand what's happening and then to regulate it in an anticipatory way. And the example is the atomic energy. In 50, 60 years ago, when atomic energy was evolving, humanity decided to create some new agencies and bodies to regulate the evolution of atomic energy for the good use of it. So nations agreed on the creation of the International Atomic Energy Agency. So this is why we want to discuss if we would need such an institution globally to regulate somehow the evolution of AI. So what we are doing in this research is, first of all, we have been interviewing top 50 experts worldwide on AI. I'm talking about people like Elon Musk, or Ray Kurzweil, or people that you know in very well in the US, also European and Asian experts from China and so on. And we were asking them, what were the big factors that would drive this evolution. And then step by step, we are going to develop a 2 years research, including Delphi surveys, scenario work, and also debates in different countries to try to agree and make a worldwide proposal to see how we can, in an anticipatory way, design the regulation from narrow artificial intelligence into future general intelligence.
Thank you. I'd love to go back to your work at Prospecticor. And you have talked to us quite a bit about how you see social enterprise as a way to tackle inequalities. And you've said that one of your goals is to advance stakeholder primacy in a circular and caring economy. Can you talk about how you work towards that goal and the role that social enterprise plays in that work?
Yes, and following a little bit what we learn and what we are learning every day on our own research and what we share with the Millennium Project, and combined with our own understanding of business, because we are part of a large social enterprise corporation called Mondragon. And Mondragon is probably the world's largest federation of worker-owned cooperatives. And as such, we are very much aware of what is the impact and the role of social enterprise on this global evolution of work and technology. When we are talking that in these three scenarios, and especially if we want to go to the third scenario where self-autonomous work will be the main field where us, the people, will be working. So it will be more self-autonomous work than working for other employee-based work. Well, the question comes: do we want to work in Uber or do we want to work in Mondragon? Because what we see, the tech-based business and economy, it's wonderful. It created many good opportunities. But the other side of the story is that it also was contributing to increasing inequalities in the economic system in a very general way. We see that if we continue with this model, fewer people are getting very rich, and the people who are working in this tech-based self-employed works, they don't have the means to progress. So on the other hand, we see the model of Mondragon and worker co-ops, that they are not the traditional, let's say, retail food co-ops. They are beyond that. In Mondragon, we have large co-ops that are manufacturing auto parts, that they are manufacturing tool machine, that they are manufacturing solar energy panels. So we are talking about industry and manufacturing activities. And what we see in that case is that those businesses, they have a very important impact on the somehow on the socioeconomic model and the way the wealth is distributed in the economic system. Because in social enterprise, the wealth is distributed in the origin. So we don't need so much the taxes and the tax system to distribute the wealth at the end of the process, but we have already an economic system where the wealth is distributed in the origin, for instance, with a salary gap. In Mondragon, we have 80,000 people in this system, and with a salary gap of 1 to 6, with a total income in the group of more than $10 billion. Do you know any other corporation in the world with such a size of $10 billion of turnover with a salary gap of 1 to 6? I don't know any, because usually when you go to the Dow Jones or to any other big stock exchange, I mean, most of the corporations, they have 1 to 500 salary gaps, and this is something that is not working in the economic system as we see. So to come to a conclusion, this is feasible. We are showing that competitiveness and being innovator is compatible with having a social purpose in an economic system.
Wonderful. I also wanted to talk about your campaign to own the metrics. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, this is very much related to what I was trying to explain. Own the metrics is part of our work on somehow fighting. Everyone is talking about greenwashing, but we came to this campaign with our colleagues at the UN, at UNRISD. UNRISD is the United Nations Research Institute on Social Development. It's based in Geneva. And the research leader in UNRISD, our colleague from Korea, Il-cheon Yi, says he doesn't speak about greenwashing. He speaks about rainbow washing.
Okay.
And he's talking about this idea. We are all for SDGs, about these rainbow color pins that we wear. I totally support that. But the point is that many times we are using these rainbow colors to do greenwashing. And many corporations somehow say that they are better than they are really actually, because. And what's the problem in here? The problem is that the metrics that we are using to measure performance, business performance, they are not working really. What we have is some general metrics, and even the standardization organizations worldwide, international standardization organizations, they are saying that the current metric systems, they are not enough to show the real performance, especially towards SDGs and the 2030 agenda for sustainability. So we are mixing everything. We are considering a worker-owned co-op like a stock exchange, big corporations owned by a super multi-billionaire, and everything goes in the same pot. And that's part of our campaign. So the Own the Metrics campaign is about making sure social economy innovators and practitioners own a proportionally equal seat at the global ESG, SDG rulemaking and standard setting tables. This is about it, so that we are all in that conversation. Own the Metrics campaign convenes and organize collective, cooperative, and mutualist voice, agency, and expertise to develop and promote sustainability measures, indicators, metrics, and standards, so that global social solidarity practitioners serve as emissaries, owners, benchmarkers, and decision makers of their own capital and asset sources. As it was proposed at the UN multi-stakeholder meeting in New York last December on social and solidarity economy and the SDGs, perhaps we should see an 18 UN SDG dedicated to broaden it and deepen it worker ownership and democratic workplaces as essential bridges towards transitioning global shareholder primacy capitalism into better social solidarity economy, what we call humanity at work and life. So this is about using new tools, and UNRISD has developed a concrete tool called the SDPI, Sustainable Development Performance Indicators, that and two cooperatives in Mondragon have been testing that tool together with another more than 100 companies worldwide. And we want to show that we can use other metrics. We can use new metrics that really can help consumers and producers make a difference between who is doing right and who is not doing so right.
So in your kind of quest to save space at the table for social enterprises and the people who are running them, I know that you work internationally and you work with a lot of NGOs. Are there places in the world that kind of feel more open to this type of work and places where it's harder to make inroads in the work that you're trying to do?
Sure, it's a big fight. I would say that we have a very good performers everywhere, and we have a not so good performers in everywhere also. We are trying to also to use this campaign to help decision makers globally understand this challenge we have. So the first point is that we have a clear diagnosis on where we are. And the diagnosis, for me, it was explained last week by UN Secretary General Guterres at the United Nations General Assembly, when he said that the rate of achievement of the SDGs is so far only 15%. So we only have 6 years to go to 2030, and we have achieved only 15%, 1/5 of those SDGs. So we first need to recognize that we have a problem. We really need to change something to have an impact on this bad performance. So what we was thinking to do, and we did actually, was we opened a conversation in between social enterprise network organizations at both sides of the Atlantic. So we talked to Social Economy Europe at the European side, and we also talked to American Sustainable Business Network, which is a very wide network of more than 250,000 businesses and impact organizations in the US. And we opened that conversations to tell them about this situation, about the wrong metrics that we are using, and how we can work together to improve those metrics and contribute to a better performance of these SDGs and as a whole of the 2030 agenda. And the corporate world and the business world, it has a very big say in this process, because I remember in the last Millennium Development Goals strategy, that was meant only for governments. And then the UN recognized in 2015 that was a mistake. We need the private sector to be engaged on this. So we have a great opportunity now, and we are extending this conversation all over the world to engage the private sector on this debate on reporting, and to invite them to join these new metrics like SDPI from UN to improve the global performance.
Great. So I think we're about ready to head into Q&A, but is there anything else about your work that you wanted to add before we do that?
No, just to say that together with this debate on the role of reporting on the performance of the private sector, and this is also my task to link it to also to our future orientation. I mean, this is something I think also that the UN recognized, that the SDGs and the 2030 agenda is not enough. When they completed the first 5 years assessment of the 2030 agenda after 2020, that report said that the rate of achievement was very bad and we were not in the good track. So the UN Secretary General came up with a new agenda that is called Our Common Agenda. And I invite all the participants today and all the people who are listening today to please go to Google and write Our Common Agenda, and you will get a report by the UN Secretary General. It's not too long, it's like around 60 pages. And you have the agenda for the future there, and how the UN is planning to use futures research tools like scenario planning, like Futures Labs, to improve the performance we are having in humanity, and at the end to use new tools for a better decision making.
Thank you. So I'd like to invite all of the participants to put any questions that you have for Eban into the Q&A right now. We have one question so far. Someone's asking, in economies like Pakistan, freelance work from abroad is already really disrupted by AI automation. So jobs are already being lost. And they'd like to know what your advice would be to people losing work to AI very quickly. And maybe I'll add into that also, because I know you do work with businesses and governments. In addition to advice to those people losing work, what about to organizations or to governmental agencies that are kind of facing that crisis already?
Sure, that's a good question. I think education and lifelong learning is a key element for the future. So we need that every individual and every organization understands that more and more we need to learn in a faster way, because technology is improving so fast that we need to get faster also, and in the way we learn and in the way we apply those learnings. So as individuals and as entrepreneurs, I would encourage everyone to learn as much as you can. There are thousands of millions of tools you can use every day with internet, with different tools to learn in different ways. And then my advice would be also to try to cooperate as much as possible with others, with other individuals, with other entrepreneurs, with other businesses. Because as we saw, cooperation and intercooperation is the key to success, and there are many things we can do together, and there are many good synergies that we don't see in our everyday lives, and we can really get those synergies. We can benefit from those synergies if we really are open to innovate, to work, to develop technology together with other people. So education and cooperation would be my advice.
Thank you. Okay. We have a guest who would like to know what fascinates and excites you most about being involved in futures thinking and foresight.
So I think futures thinking has been my every time in my professional life, and I like it more and more. So when you get into futures research, you see that this is extended so much worldwide. When I started with futures research, I mean, few governments and institutions and corporations were working on that. I mean, we knew about Royal Dutch Shell, about the European Commission, about the National Intelligence Council in the US with the Global Trends reports, of course, the Institute for the Future and many other global institutions. But what we see today, it's very exciting. I mean, more and more governments worldwide are getting engaged with futures research. We are having a big gathering in Dubai, in the Emirates in November. It's called the Dubai Future Forum, and you are also all invited to join us. Last year we had more than 400 futurists from all over the world having open conversations on the future of technology, society, energy, sustainability, and so on. And I think this year it will be even better. So what we see with this, our common agenda, new framework from the UN, and also what the European Commission is doing right now with having for the first time European Commission Vice President on foresight. OECD is also encouraging member governments to use more futures research tools on their policy design and decision-making processes. Also at corporate level, I mean, sorry to say, but COVID was an eye-opening for lots of corporations. We saw that it helped them understand how unexpected events could change their own the global strategic landscape. So that was also helping a lot, and we see that the future awareness is rising a lot. So if you are not in futures research, please come to this field, because it's really amazing.
Ivan, can you talk about challenges that you've had in this work? What are the barriers that you're facing? And particularly, I mean, both in terms of the social enterprise promotion and also in terms of trying to integrate futures thinking into the work. Where are the barriers? Where are you hitting resistance?
Yes, I would say that this is not a discipline because this is not a science as we know. It's a planning discipline, and it's really amazing discipline. But as we know, many of the people don't know about it, and many people, both at the corporate sector or the government, the public sector, they are many times reluctant to futures thinking. Well, their understanding is that you cannot predict the future, and we are trying to explain that's our role to try to tell them that it's not about predicting the future, it's about preparing the future, and to understand it what would happen in order to try to do a transition into a desired future. So I would say that our biggest challenge is what many of our colleagues call futures literacy. And UNESCO was doing a great job on that, trying to help many governments and corporations understand what are the grounds of futures thinking. And once we understand, we can assess and say what's good and what's wrong about futures research. But many times we are talking about futures research without understanding what's futures research, and that's the big problem for us.
Do you have any advice for other people who are interested in similar work or who are trying to pursue similar work?
Yes, I would advise them to look for very good training courses like you offer in the Institute for the Future and many other institutions in the Americas and Europe, Asia, all over the world. If they really are interested in futures research, to attend some of these training seminars and courses. There are many also online resources that you can research. We, for instance, developed a EU project called B4, and all the training materials are available for free. There are videos and slides and all materials related to futures literacy. So that is something that you can also look for and use in your learning process. And of course, to try to bring futures understanding and future orientation into your own lives. Whether you are an individual entrepreneur, you are working in a corporation, in a government, or in an NGO, I mean, you can always bring this discipline, this futures thinking discipline into your planning process. And I really encourage everyone to bring that from your learning process into your real life.
So I want to invite one more time any remaining questions from our participants. If so, please put them in the Q&A. In the meantime, Ivan, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your book that's coming out, Humanity at Work and Life. And maybe we could get a link to that as well. Aicha can help us with that.
Sure, thank you, Rebecca. We are actually launching this book called Humanity at Work and Life, which is based on the Mondragon inspiration, not only on the Mondragon cooperative project itself. We are telling in different chapters more than 35 authors in that book, by the way. And we are telling about the Mondragon story, about how it became what it is today, but we are also telling how Mondragon was inspiration in different other places. Like for instance, in Cincinnati, there is a very amazing cooperative ecosystem in Cincinnati called Coop Cincy. And this initiative was very much inspired in Mondragon. So the leaders of that initiative were writing a chapter in the book. So we will be launching the book on Monday in New York. So if any of you are around, you are invited to come at the CUNY Law School or School of Law. And if you are not around New York, you are also invited to come online through Zoom. If you type Humanity at Work launch or CUNY or so on in Google, you will easily find the invitation to Zoom to to connect to the Zoom session, and we'll be happy to share our thoughts with you.
Well, thank you so much. And I think we can pause here. We don't have any more audience questions, but it was such a pleasure to reconnect with you and to speak with you. And thank you for sharing all of your work with us.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. It was a great pleasure, and I hope we can continue with these conversations in the near future. And I'm totally open to answer any other questions or remarks that the participant may have. So please contact me if you have any other comment or question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Rebecca. I'm just going to quickly let you know about our upcoming webinar. So our next Foresight Talk webinar is October 12th, and it's going to be a panel presentation with Dr. Jake Donegan, he's the research director of the Governance Futures Lab. It's titled Social Invention from the Reconstitutional Convention to the Future of Democracy. And he's going to be talking to 3 people about how the Governance Futures Lab, which was formed a decade ago, to inspire and cultivate a generation of social inventors to reinvent governance. And in 2013, the inaugural event of the lab was held in Palo Alto and in 9 satellite locations around the world. So this event, the Reconstitutional Convention, ReconCon, brought together constitutional law scholars, artists, designers, activists, explorers, political scientists, space scientists, civil servants, and others to envision how we might reconstitute ourselves for the 21st century. So now, 10 years later, the forecast of systems breakdown that drove the urgency of the ReconCon are present. New pathways forward are still now needed more than ever. So Dr. Jake Donegan will host this conversation, and it'll be a special session where the participants will reflect back on the experience and how it influenced them in the decades since, and what is needed now to help people pull together to meet the profound challenges facing humanity. So the link is in the chat. Please register and join us then. And let me see if there's one more slide, I believe. If I can. There we go. If you wanted to contact us, please do at foresight.essentials@iftf.org. And again, you can find all of our resources, research, trainings, and how to join on our website, iftf.org. So thank you again to Yvonne Zougasti and Rebecca Shamash for hosting this conversation. And thanks to all of you for joining, and hope to see you next month. Bye.
Thank you.